The NBA season is right around the corner, and before you know it, these games are going to count and it won't be preseason anymore. So with that in mind, let's talk about the three biggest storylines heading into this Raptors season. I'm JJ Buckets. I've told you what we're talking about, so before I fully get into things, just the usual drill, make sure you're leaving a like on the video. It really does help the algorithm out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here, plus if you plan on doing any responsible sports betting in the near future, just make sure to check out my link in the description below. Let's kick things off with the elephant in the room, and that is just the storyline of who stays, right? Because Pascal Siakam, contract year. OG Anunoby, contract year. Gary Trent Jr., contract year. We just saw Fred VanVleet walk last offseason, so now we have three more guys that could all potentially be vying for a big payday, and that's going to be looming over top the heads of the Raptors all year, right? And it'll be interesting to see how and if it does affect the encore play in any type of way whatsoever. Although I'm sure, these guys are professionals, so I don't think they're gonna let their payday get in the way of playing well. But at the same time, obviously this stuff is gonna matter to them, right? Like, each of these guys wants to get paid their fair share in the offseason. In particular, I think Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby will really be looking to command some significant contracts. With OG, we've heard in the past that he could get anything north of like 30 million. With Pascal Siakam, obviously the Supermax could be on the table for him, and obviously this organization hasn't given it to him yet, so they still feel like he has something left to prove. Does he still feel like he has something left to prove here? And obviously he's said before he wants to stay in Toronto, and it'll be interesting to see how, just the looming threat of, hey, am I gonna be staying here, kind of plays into the season, plays into how all of these guys perform throughout, because I do think it's a very real thing that's hanging in the back of all these guys' minds. I mean, like, at the end of the day, these players are human, and in particular, this is a job. They want their money, so I think it'll affect them to some extent. It'll be interesting to see whether it be a positive or a negative the longer the season goes on, but obviously the contracts are a big storyline of this season. The next one is about our rookie head coach, and while there's a lot of things I'd be interested about, in particular, it would be the Darko offense. What does Rajakovic's offense look like on this team, right? Because with Darko Rajakovic, I think, well, obviously small sample size, one preseason game at the time that this is being recorded, but there's a lot of things that you look at the Darko Milicic, excuse me, wow, my head is in a different place, Darko Rajakovic's offense, and there was a lot of fun takeaways that you could have, right? I mean, obviously in the first preseason game, they scored 69 points, nice, in the first half, which was encouraging to see. And I think the stuff that looked really good in particular was just the off-ball movement for Toronto. Like, guys were engaged, guys were going. They weren't as stationary as I felt like they were last year in Nick Nurse's offense, right? The off-ball movement looked good. The off-ball movement looked really good, and I think that helped contribute to a lot of points and a lot of, even when they weren't scoring points, some easy looks. And I think that's going to be big for this team moving forward, is just capitalizing on those easy looks and creating those easy looks, because quite frankly, you don't really have an elite shot creator on this team for the ISO heavy ball that you tried to play last year when it was Nick Nurse at the forefront of this team. And obviously, like, Pascal's fine in that regard. Like, he can definitely go get his own shot in the mid-range when being tasked with it. Fred VanVleet was his own story last year. But yeah, like, you're going to be moving away from that ISO ball to a decent extent, and you're going to be trying to play this more fluid offense. And how does it look by season's end? Because I think you've gotten some encouraging signs early on that it might look pretty decent. And does that hold up over the course of an entire regular season? That is going to be the main question here. And if it does, I would actually think the Raptors might come in better than advertised to a lot of people. And then the last one here is a little bit of an extension of the previous one, but still deserves its own category, and something I've talked about on this channel before, needs to be talked about again because it is, a big storyline, as the title of this video says. Scotty Barnes, what does he look like, right? I think when you let Fred VanVleet walk, you maybe inadvertently, maybe advertently, put a lot of stock into the basket, put a lot of eggs into the basket of Scotty Barnes, right? Like, you believe in Scotty Barnes if you're the Raptors organization to comfortably let, you know, a former all-star point guard go. Now, obviously, there's going to be discussions that, like, whatever, he didn't have his best season last year, and, like, fair. But when you let him walk, you put that pressure of being the number 2 option thus on Barnes. You were interested in seeing what Scotty Barnes looks like in this bigger role, excuse me. And again, preseason game, small sample size, but I think in the first preseason game against the Kings, he looked pretty damn good. I think he looked pretty damn good. And quite frankly, I do think that Scotty Barnes is well suited and well tailored to a lot of the schemes and a lot of the ideology that Darko brings to this team. I think Scotty is in a position to thrive in that kind of offensive set. Offensive sets. Excuse me, this is not my most well-spoken section of this video, but I think you know what I'm getting at, right? Like, Scotty Barnes has an opportunity here to really showcase what makes him a player that a lot of people are really excited about. And again, I've said it before and I will say it again, the success of this team this season is heavily linked to how good Scotty Barnes is going to be this season. Because if Scotty Barnes shows up, really adapts to this offense well, really slots into that number 2 role in terms of touches, fantastically, he's going to look good, the team's going to look good, and I think the Raptors have a chance to be fairly successful, like at least a decent playoff team. And if for whatever reason we don't get that version of Scotty Barnes that we know we can, or that we hope we can, then this team is going to be dead near like the back end of the conference, right? Like, the talent on this team is solid for the most part, but you're really, with the moves or lack thereof that you made this offseason, banking on jumps from Scotty Barnes, and I think to a lesser extent, but still to an extent, OG Anunoby, but Barnes is the big one, right? And if he can have that good year 3 jump and really showcase what he can be as a pro, like, you're looking great. You're looking solid. If not, oh, you better hope you land in that top 6, I believe, where the Raptors pick is protected, because you're going to need a high pick of how bad the team could be. So what do you folks think? Do you think there's a major storyline that I'm missing here? Because obviously heading into a new season, there's going to be a lot of storylines before it starts. If there's something I'm missing, comment below. If you have any thoughts on anything I've said in this video, comment below. You know the drill. Anything that you want to say, comment below. Other than that, folks, usual drill at the end of these videos. If you're still watching, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button. It really does make as big of a difference as I make it out every single time, so I do appreciate it. Besides for that, folks, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, yeah. It's been JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure, and I will see everybody next time.